for their campaign.
Yeah, which he left off his resume.
Right.
Yeah.
David Pollock.
Bama's good, and they're better. They're good up front, and they're good. They're not as good as they used to be. Their corners are very small guys. They're great players. They're physical. They're technicians. Wims on the outside, I think, is the key to the game for Georgia. Yeah. He's 6'4". He's an enormous target. He's got to win the jump balls.
David Pollock on Golick and Wingo, covered 6:30 Eastern ESPN Radio, 8 Eastern ESPN TV, megacast on ESPNU featuring coaches Mike Gundy and David Cutcliffe.
Experience why for nearly a century men have trusted Barbasol for a close, comfortable shave. Whether it's extra moisturizing with vitamin E or soothing aloe, all you have to do is sit back and bask in the glory of your close shave. You're looking good, America. You're shaving with Barbasol.
This is a local sports center update from Southeast Missouri's ESPN Radio
I'm
Network.
Mike Reddick with this local sports center update brought to you by the Bertrand Law Firm. Visit TreyBertrand.com. The Kansas City Chiefs have not won a home playoff game since 1994, and that trend continued Saturday at Arrowhead Stadium in disastrous fashion. They're racing out to a 21-3 first-half lead. The Chiefs were held scoreless in the second half as the Tennessee Titans pulled off the huge comeback, winning 22-21 to move on from Wild Card Weekend. The Chiefs end the year with a regular season record of 10-7. Southeast Bend fell to 1-3 in the OVC with a 71-76 loss to Austin Peay Saturday. Red Hawks ran 11 with just 12 minutes left and used some hot three-point shooting to cut the deficit to 1 with just 1 minute left. Red Hawks had a chance to take the lead but turned the ball over and were held scoreless the rest of the way. Southeast was led in scoring by Denzel Mahoney with 24 points and 6 rebounds. They fall to 7-10 overall. We'll play at home Thursday against Morehead State. East women also lost to Austin Peay in a thriller 66-65. Red Hawks trailed going 44-38 after going down double digits. We're down just 3 points with 2 seconds left. When Kaylee Leahy was fouled on a three-point attempt, she missed the first of 3 free throws and made the next 2, leaving Southeast down by 1 with no time left. Red Hawks are now 7-9 overall and 2-2 in the OVC. They host Morehead State
Get
on
sports
Thursday.
Center updates every hour on Southeast Missouri's ESPN 92.9 FM and 1220 AM. Have you downloaded the SEMO ESPN app?
Check it out.
Check it out now, free on the App Store or Google Play, and download today. Listen live to ESPN 92.9 FM or ESPN 1220 AM 24/7 in crystal clear audio. Watch the Red Hawks Coaches Show live video webcast. Enter our contest. Get local weather and live radar. See what others are saying on our Facebook and Twitter feeds. Everybody's downloading the free SEMO ESPN app. The real question, are you? Find it on the App Store or Google Play today.
There are sports bars everywhere these days, but there's only one place for award-winning jumbo wings, bigger beers, and better food and drink values all week long. Wings Etc. Grill and Pub. We're so much more than wings. Enjoy wraps, salads, subs, seafoods, quesadillas, amazing appetizers, and awesome daily lunch food and drink specials. And now, when you can't eat here, order online for pickup at togo.wingsetc.com. It's fast, easy, and convenient. Wings Etc. Grill and Pub. Good food, great times, and online ordering at togo.wingsetc.com.
This is Southeast Missouri's ESPN Radio Sports Network. 92.9 KLSC Malden, 1220 KGIR Cape Girardeau, and 1470 KMAL Malden. This is a proud presentation of Mississippi River Radio Sports, the sports authority.
Check this out right here.
It's time now for the Red Hawks Coaches Show on the SEMO ESPN Radio Sports Network. The Southeast Coaches Show airs at ESPN 92.9 FM and 1220 AM from Wings Etc. in Cape and Jackson. This is your chance to delve deep into the Red Hawks basketball season with head coach Rick Ray. So what do you say?
Come on, let's go.
Let's go. Let's go live to Wings Etc. on SEMO ESPN.
ESPN 92.9 FM, 1220, 1470 AM, and on SEMOESPN.com. Coming back from the holiday break, had to take a couple of weeks away, spend some time with the friends and family, but joined by head coach Rick Ray. Coach, how are you, and how were the holidays for you all in all?
The holidays were good. It's always good to spend some time around the family that you don't normally get a chance to get. Boys had a good Christmas.
Good.
They always enjoy opening up presents, and just that morning, they're excited getting into things. So they got some new toys to ride around with. Obviously, always some balls involved.
Of course.
In their Christmas time. But it was good just getting a chance to sit around and spend some time with my family.
Now, are the boys ones that are, I know for me as a kid, I was a little more meticulous. I tried to open the paper kind of cleanly. Or the kids just kind of blitz and get the paper everywhere all at once, or are they kind of methodical about
I got real boys.
All right, so they're all
just,
about it.
They're just ripping through everything and ready to move on to the next thing. They'll open up your presents for you as well. They're very helpful in that regard.
That's right. It's like, no, this is my fun, Mom and Dad. It's my turn. Let me have at it. So as a guy with 4 or 5 nieces and nephews, I understand Christmas is just cleanup afterward at this point. But good to hear that the holidays went well. We're into a new year, and we're going to have some time talking about what has happened the last couple of weeks. Haven't had a coaches show since about the 18th of December, so we have a few weeks of games to go for and look forward to in terms of what we have coming up. We're in the thick of OVC season now, but before we get too far in that, also want to know we have Ladarius Brewer joining us on the show, the freshman coming in to talk a bit about how his first season has been going as a Red Hawk. But we'll open up with a little bit of football. I know as disappointing as it was, we'll start off with what happened a couple of days ago. You've had about 48 hours to kind of release some of the steam. The Chiefs up 21-3, kind of forgetting what football was in the second half, didn't know what a third down was or how to convert on it, and they see the Titans come back. So I'll leave the floor to you for a couple of minutes. How are you feeling a couple days after it?
Yeah, it was a bad weekend for me. Obviously, we ended up losing the game at Austin Peay. And right before that, I had the displeasure of watching my Kansas City Chiefs lose another playoff game. I think that's six straight games that they've had at home in playoff and end up losing there. And so to be up 21-3 and then end up losing all that in the second half. So I was watching that right before our game. Had to turn it off there when Derrick Henry got that last third down conversion. There was obviously no timeouts left. I knew the game was over with, so I almost destroyed my phone in that part there. But I had to get some composure to go out and coach the team. But being a Kansas City Chiefs fan, they make it really hard at times.
I understand. It's something you kind of have to ride out and see what happens. So as a fan, I know, but also as a coach, you kind of have a unique insight on all the talk that happens afterward. Like, okay, what do you do with the coaches? How do you revamp the system? What do you do in this? We already know, just breaking a little bit ago, Matt Nagy, the offensive coordinator, has been hired to be the coach of the Bears. So you're already seeing a little bit of coaching revamp on that. As a fan, maybe kind of outside the coach's perspective, how do you handle all that talk, or what do you think as a fan as well as a coach when seeing all of those rumors pop up?
Well, you never can lose perspective of the fact that they are a good team and they got to the playoffs and they do have some weapons. It's going to be interesting to see what direction they end up going with Alex Smith. Because everybody loves a backup quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody loves a new toy and want to get him out there. But you look at the fact of what Alex Smith did this season was an historic season for him as far as his complete percentage and what he did, touchdown to interception ratio and taking care of the football. So it's going to be a tough decision for them on what they're going to do with that. But then they got some young weapons there, and they got some older guys like Derek Johnson, Tomby Ali. They got to figure out, starting to show their age a little bit, so they got to maybe replace those guys or they go young. But I think the one thing you always got to keep in perspective is the fact that they did win the AFC West. They did get to the playoffs, and you don't want to just totally tear down a team and destroy it. Some people are, some of my friends are like, you got to get rid of Andy Reid.
Oh, I'm
seeing it all day. Like, are you guys serious?
Right.
You want to get rid of Andy Reid? It's disappointing. People just got to take a deep breath and step away from it. But, either you're a fan or you're not a fan. That's the way I look at it. So I've been through some tough times there with the Kansas City Chiefs, but I'm always support them.
Just going to keep rolling through. And like you said, hopefully that's the problem right now with Mahomes is you also have Jimmy Garoppolo, who got traded and looked okay for the 49ers. So that kind of doubles up the pressure of, hey, backup quarterback looks good. We just saw one kind of do well for another team this year. Let's see what happens. Well, it's going to be an exciting few months. We'll say that. It's going to be interesting to see how everything shakes out. And hopefully, I'm with you, they don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Just gear up and be ready for next year. But not only do we have pro football, I know tonight we'll be airing it on SEMO ESPN 92.9 FM. You can also come into Wings, etc. All the flat screens, I'm sure Joe will have them showing the national championship game, Georgia and Atlanta. It's going to be in Atlanta. I hear the Dogs calls already taking on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Now, for me, I've said it on the show before. I'm a Tennessee fan, so I have no love lost for either team. As far as I'm concerned, the lights could go off in Mercedes-Benz and no one could win, and I'm going to go home a happy person. But I know I'm a rare exception to that with my bitterness for the SEC. So I'm sure you're at least excited to catch one viewpoint of this game. I think I saw ESPN said they have 20 different ways you can watch the game. So I'm sure if you have any method you want to see it, I think Bill Walton's calling it on the channel, for heaven's sakes. So are you excited? Who are you pulling for all this?
Well, I tell you what, it was an interesting matchup in the last game in the semifinals because my oldest son, Deacon, was actually born when I was an assistant coach at Clemson.
Okay.
And so he was born in Clemson, South Carolina, so he's a huge Clemson fan. My other son, Mason, is an Alabama fan. So they were going at it there. But it was an interesting household at that time. But I'm a Nick Saban fan. I just think that regardless of what you think of him, you consider what they've done. I didn't realize this, but they were interviewing Calvin Ridley, the star wide receiver for the Alabama Crimson Tide. This is his third season in college football, and obviously he probably won't be a fourth season for him.
Yeah, he's probably done after tonight.
But he's played in the championship game in every year that he's been in college football.
It's been insane.
I mean, it's unbelievable. So you can say what you want to. Hey, they got all the best players. They shouldn't have been in the playoffs and things like that. Just to have that sort of excellence and to sustain that excellence for that long was just unbelievable. So I would think that it would be a hard time to say that anybody thinks that Alabama's not going to be the favorite going into the game just based on Nick Saban's track record there.
Yeah.
So, but if anybody can do it, they always say it's like Kirby's been involved in and been around him and things like that. But it'll be an interesting game because it's going to be strength on strength. And so what Georgia wants to do is run the football. No one runs the football against Alabama, so you're going to have to figure it out. So at some point in time, the freshman quarterback, Jake Fromm, is going to have to figure out, can he throw the football? And what you're doing is you're probably throwing the football against the best secondary in college football, maybe the best player in college football, Minkah Fitzpatrick. So I know this. You're not going to run the ball against Alabama. They're going to have to figure out how to beat them some other way.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see kind of holding up that pressure because even a national semifinal is radically different than even in your backyard being in Atlanta. It's a bit of a different story when you're facing off against the best team of the last decade down in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And I will fully disclose, I do like Nick Saban. I may resent Alabama for their success, but I do respect the guy. You don't have the tenure of success he has at Alabama without doing things the right way and doing it consistently the right way. So it's going to be a fun one. I know coverage will start at 6 o'clock on 92.9 SEMO ESPN talking about Georgia and Alabama in this national championship game. At this point, I think I'm just pulling for underdogs and pulling for everybody. I'll fully disclose, I think Alabama wins by 10, but I'm pulling for Georgia just to save a little bit of face. SEC East, kind of whatever, it's fine. I'm going to go cry in my Tennessee Cup tonight. It's fine. Coming back, talking a little bit about basketball with Coach Ray. We'll kind of focus up on what SEMO has been up to these last couple of weeks. As we said, we haven't had a show since December 18th, but we've jumped right into the thick of OVC season. I know we've had the last two games, kind of the big ones to look at Murray State, at Austin Peay. So a bit on the road after a little bit of a stay at the end of 2017 here at the Show Me Center. But going down to Murray, Kentucky, always a tough battle, dropping that one 89-73. And I know with this team, as we said, kind of their first time being in the 4A for a lot of these guys, being in the thick of what is the CFSB Center. Probably a volatile experience that you're going to have in the OVC in terms of fan base coming out. And Murray State kind of stepping up, showing there's a reason they're 11-3 on the year. They're looking good so far this season. They're able to do well against SEMO. So kind of just initial thoughts coming out of that game. Ladarius Brewer had 19 points in that contest. Enzo Mahoney had 14. I know he was battling a little bit of foul trouble in some of those games. I mean, fouled out in that one as well. So kind of take us through what was that contest down at Murray State.
Well, going into the game, you knew Murray State was really good. If you just look at their stats in the OVC, they're leading the league in scoring. They're second in field goal percentage offense. And even on the defensive side, they're second in scoring defense. They're second in field goal percentage defense. Yeah. So it's kind of a rare thing when you see a team that's that good offensively and also that good defensively. So they're a very sound basketball team. I think the guy that's made a big difference for them is a Ja Morant freshman. He's allowed them to move Jonathan Stark off the point and do what he does best, which is score the basketball. And so it's freed up some of those opportunities for him to just go get points for him. But he's an excellent player, really good freshman. Then you got Terrell Miller, who's always a problem because he's an inside-outside guy. So if you switch the ball screens, they're just going to post him up. And so now you got guys like 5'10", 5'11", trying to guard him in the post and also try to keep him from getting that rebound. But then if you don't switch the ball screen, it allows him to get space to pick and pop and shoot threes. So they're just a good team that present a lot of challenges to you. The one thing that we don't talk about, we never talk about crowds and home environment and things like that, because to me, I don't get into that, and I don't think our players should get into it until a fan comes down and makes a three. During the course of the game, I'm not going to worry about the fans. So,
there you go.
And if you're worried about that, then you're not really focusing on the things that you need to be focusing on. There's so many things in basketball going on during the course of the game. That's one thing that you really can't focus in on. So, I thought that we did start off the game well. I thought we came back in and did some really good things and played our brand of basketball, but I thought kind of towards the end of the game, it was really kind of an 8-point ball game, and then we kind of just fell apart there, especially at the end of the half.
Yep.
We were right there. It was a 2-point game, 4-point game. We were leading. Then we had some uncharacteristic turnovers. And the thing that bothered me the most about our turnovers during that stretch in the end of the first half is they were unforced turnovers. So, I just thought that we kind of beat ourselves in that regard. We've got to do a much better job of taking care of basketball, and that's really been our forte. We've done a really good job of securing the basketball, and to me that's the most important thing, is to get an attempt up every single time. Sometimes they're not sound attempts, but at least you're not giving the ball to the other team, because you can't set your defense when you're trying to run people down off of turnovers.
Yeah, it's one of those things where if you're not putting shots up, you're not going to win no matter what the situation is, because obviously points are the name of the game, and you can't stop anybody 100% of the time, especially, you said, guys like Stark and Morant, who mind you just tanks in terms of Murray State. Stark on the floor for 38 of the 40 minutes, 36 of the 40 minutes for Terrell Miller. Those guys don't get rotated out very much, so you're hit with a barrage of those guys over and over again, and it's very much a test of composure of, are you going to be okay? Do you face up in this situation and get ready to go down court the next time?
Yeah, and those guys stay on the court, like you said, a predominant amount of the time. We obviously didn't do a great job on Stark. He had 36 points on us, but I think a majority of those points came in the second half.
Yep.
We just didn't contain him. But I thought we lost our composure a little bit and lost some of our principles in doing what we need to do on the defensive end, kind of play through our offense a little bit. But, Murray State's a really good team. We're looking forward to getting them back, and when they come here in the Show Me Center and seeing if we can play a little bit better and follow our principles. But it's a learning experience for everybody. I think until you play a guy like Jonathan Stark in person and you get a chance to see him, you can show him film all you want to. And everyone in that film session is sitting there saying, like, well, he won't do that to me. Like, I'm better than him. I'll defend him better. I'm not this and that. So then they go out there and they experience it and getting a chance to see it play in person. Now I think they start to appreciate and understand how good he really is and what they need to do in order to be a defending guy like Jonathan Stark.
Yeah, it's one of those things, see someone get blown by on tape, but when you get to feel it yourself, you kind of internalize that feeling. Okay, now I see what this is like. I've got to make sure this doesn't happen again. Talking to head coach Rick Ray. It's the SEMO Coaches Show live at Wings, Etc. in Cape. I'll make your way down here for some lunch. I know it's a foggy day, so be careful driving, but we've got plenty of time here and plenty of food here to catch up with your lunch. We'll go on from that game to the Austin Peay contest, 76-71, a bit of a back and forth one, especially in the second half, in which you outscored Austin Peay 44-40, but still not quite able to get over the precipice. It took a big run to get back to that point. 51-40, you were down with 12:46 left in that second half. Were you able to get things going, in part from Ladarius Brewer, a couple threes to kind of set the pace for the team going the other way, but not quite able to get over the brink on that one. And I know the big thing Trent Singer and the Missourian was talking about was rebounding, kind of was the plaguing thing that took you out of that contest. Kind of what are you thinking on that, especially for a team that I know exhibits some size, and normally it's a big fundamental thing for your program is cleaning up the boards and making sure you're ready to go on that.
Yeah, and the thing that was disappointing in that game is the fact that this is not new information. The way that Austin Peay beat you is they beat you on the glass and they beat you on hustle plays. Right. And so they're a tremendous rebounding team, and really – a lot of time their best offense is getting the second chance opportunity, getting it off the glass, because they're not a great shooting team and they kind of take some wild shots there. And so this is all the information that our guys knew coming in. And so what ends up happening is I thought that we played our good initial defense, but we didn't get the defensive rebound. And I thought they shot 44% on the game. Yep. And if you eliminate just half of those offensive rebounds that they got, they probably would have shot 33%.
That's a radically different situation.
So they got 22 offensive rebounds, which is just unheard of. I've never, in all my years of college basketball, I've been in college basketball about 25 years, I've never seen a stat like that where somebody gets 22 offensive rebounds. And then just second chance opportunity, they beat us 24-5, on that. So if you can just cut that in half, you win the basketball game. So The thing that's disappointing, once again, is the fact that this is not new information. We told them this is how they score, this is how they beat you. It's just about out hustling and getting you. And a lot of the times, those are not really rebounds. They end up being loose balls.
Right, off the floor, yeah.
So you got to be willing to get on the floor and get a loose ball, get those 50-50 balls, whatever the terminology that you want to use. And to me, that's what ended up beating us.
Yeah, so one of those stick-with-it mentalities you kind of have to internalize as you go forward. As you said, both these teams you have a chance to bounce back with. They've got another back-to-back dates again in the beginning of February. So you'll have another situation, a Thursday, Saturday, where you see them the same way. You get about a month layover, and you've got a couple games coming up that hopefully will kind of set the course back right for the Redhawks. I know in the middle of the holiday season, it's hustle and bustle. Everything's kind of chaotic around the program, as well as just for every individual wanting to have whatever time you have to see family and things like that. But I know it's the team kind of wanting to bounce back and set things on the right course coming into the new year.
Yeah, and to me, this is a huge time for us development-wise because, we're not in session. Some of the guys are taking winter courses. But we talk about everybody wants to play professional basketball. That's the aspiration, to go on and play professional basketball at some level, whether it be NBA, overseas, or what have you. Well, right now, this is the time that they don't have the schoolwork, and so we can focus in on basketball. So getting extra skill work, getting in the gym, working on your individual, disappointments as far as like what we need to do in order to get better with our left hand dribbling, whether it be shooting the basketball. So this is your time to develop and kind of be an NBA player, be a professional player, because you don't have school. And so we got to take advantage of this opportunity and get better during this break here. So hopefully once we start playing basketball again, once school is in session, we put in enough work when we didn't have school that it ends up making a difference in our development, especially our individual development.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to call in the guys for a 7 a.m. practice when there's not class for half of them at 9 o'clock. It's okay, you've had the time to sleep. You don't have assignments to work on. Come in, let's work on some one-on-ones and see what we get going.
Yeah, and you got 24 hours of just getting better. I mean, obviously you got sleep there, and you want to make sure guys have time away from basketball. You got to divest a little bit, but at the end of the day, you got to take advantage of this opportunity and get better during this time period.
Head coach Rick Ray, head coach of the SEMO men's basketball program. Southeast coming off a couple losses. The OVC want to bounce back later this week, and we'll talk about those contests coming up in the last third of the show. But 12:23 the time here in Cape Girardeau. Going to make our first time out. Bring up off the commercial break, Ladarius Brewer, the freshman from the SEMO men's basketball program. Southeast wanted to bring him to the table. We'll catch up with how his adjustment to Southeast has been so far. Back in a couple of moments. It's the SEMO Coaches Show here at Wings Etc. in Cape Girardeau on SEMO ESPN.
United Way of Southeast Missouri is asking you to give from the heart. How can your business or organization invest in our community? Through the month of February, sell paper hearts to customers, host a heart-themed bake sale or cook-off, or have a dress-down day for employees who purchase hearts. Find more ideas at unitedwayofsemo.org/heart. Buy a heart and give from the heart to strengthen your community.
The Army National Guard is committed to keeping the country safe and our communities secure. Composed of hundreds of thousands of citizen soldiers from all walks of life, the Guard is always ready to respond to local or national emergencies. We protect the homeland. We're always there when called upon, and in every state and territory, we stand guard for our communities. To learn more, log on to NationalGuard.com. Sponsored by the Missouri Army National Guard. Aired by the Missouri Broadcasters Association and this station.
When it comes to wings, everyone knows size does matter, and no one knows it better than Wings Etc. Grill and Pub. Wings Etc. has the biggest, meatiest, award-winning jumbo wings in town. If you love wings and a whole menu of great food and drink options and tons of flat screens tuned into sports, we've got you covered. And now, when you can't eat here, order online for pickup at togo.wingsetc.com. It's fast, easy, and convenient. Wings Etc. Grill and Pub. Good food, great times, and online ordering at togo.wingsetc.com.
Don't miss the Red Hawks Coaches Show this year at Wings Etc. in Cape and Jackson. The Red Hawks Coaches Show airs every Tuesday from noon to 1 on the SEMO ESPN network at SEMOESPN.com and the SEMO ESPN app. You can also see a live video stream at SEMOESPN.com. Eric Shawn and Coach Ray talk basketball, break down the games, and talk with the players. Stop in for lunch at Wings Etc. in Cape or Jackson and hear the Coaches Show all year long on the SEMO ESPN network.
I'm Mike Rennick with this Red Hawks Minute brought to you by Southeast Health. It was a tough Saturday night at Austin Peay for Southeast Red Hawks basketball, both men and women. The men fell 71-76 to Austin Peay. They were led in scoring by Denzel Mahoney, who had 24 points and 6 rebounds. Red Hawks were down by just one late in the game with a chance to take the lead, but turned the ball over and were held scoreless the rest of the way. Southeast falls to 1-3 in the OVC. 7-10 overall. They will host Austin Peay on Thursday. Southeast women lost in a thriller 66-65. They trailed 44-38 going into the fourth quarter and cut the lead to just 3 points with 2 seconds left when Kay Leahy was fouled on a three-point attempt. She went to the line, missing the first free throw, making the next 2, but leaving Southeast down by 1 with no time left. Red Hawks are 7-9 on the year, 2-2 in the OVC. They host Moorhead on Thursday.
Play ball!
This is the home of Southeast Missouri State Baseball.
Who's the best team? We are!
ESPN 1220
and 1470.
Welcome back to the SEMO Coaches Show, live at Wings Center in Cape Girardeau. Cody Sandusky with you back. Thanks to head coach Rick Ray joining us the first part of the show. He'll be back at the end of the show as we catch up on what is coming up for the Red Hawks in the middle of the OVC schedule. But we're joined now by freshman Ladarius Brewer on the program with us live at Wings Center in Cape. Ladarius, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. As I said, being called in as the last-minute reserve, filling in for Eric Shawn, who I didn't address in the first part of the show, feeling a little under the weather. So I'm here as the sixth man off the bench being called up to starting rotation. So hopefully I'm filling in the way as always. So I know you're in the middle of hopefully the winter break, so you're not having too much class pressure on you. You're kind of enjoying the lull in between semesters?
I actually took a winter class, just to get a class out of the way, so I won't have much of a load on me next semester.
That's nice, kind of 3 hours as opposed to like the 15 or whatever they're throwing on you. So is it a tough class, anything you got going on?
It's not hard at all.
Which one is it?
Health perspectives.
Okay, yeah. Sounds like one you can skate through pretty well. Yeah. That was my thing in college. Health was the class. Like, okay, I'm here. Yeah, let's not be fat. I'm not succeeding in that, but we'll move on. It's fine. We'll be okay. So coming in, your first semester knocked out of the way in the middle of the winter break. How are you feeling? How have you acclimated to college so far? I know as a true freshman you're in. You're being thrown right into the thick of things in the basketball program, into classes. How do you feel about it about 4 or 5 months in?
I feel like I'm adapting pretty well to it. The first semester was pretty hard on me because, of course, I had to work with time management and had to, deal with basketball all the time and had to put in my schoolwork with that, so it was pretty hard. But I'm adapting pretty well now.
There you go. It's a nice change of pace. You go from the high school meticulous kind of the 8 hours, like, okay, I'm here, everything's at set time, practice afterward. All of a sudden it's like, oh, I have to be responsible for things. I have to go to class when it's not back to back to back. I have to go at 8 and then go back at noon. So it's a bit of a radical change, but you're kind of in this break. How are you feeling in terms of like the one-on-ones? What are the things you're focusing on during this break? I know Coach was saying that during this time, since you don't have all the classes going on, you have a little bit more time to work on drills and kind of development. What's the thing you're focusing on most during this part of the season?
My shooting and ball handling.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just kind of want to get more comfortable spotting up from beyond the arc, or just in general kind of go into transition and putting up more clean shot attempts?
Spotting up beyond the arc mostly because I take the most threes on the team, so I should work on it.
I was going to ask about that. Do you feel like you have a pretty comfortable green light with Coach Ray? You kind of get to the corner, you find your spot, and you're like, okay, go ahead. Do you feel comfortable with fire, or is he going to kind of pull you aside every once in a while and say, hey, let's maybe tone it down a little bit?
No, he doesn't really have a problem with it.
Man, that's a good feeling. I know he's talked about many times before. He likes the shooters. He's recruiting shooters. So you want to feel comfortable and put that up. So let's go a little bit background. I know you went to Meridian High School, a team that's doing really well down in Mississippi right now. Was it much the same thing for you there? Kind of what was the high school basketball experience for you?
We had a pretty good high school team. We didn't lose over 5 games my entire career being there. So.
It's good times. Sounds like it was a good trip for you going through those 3 or 4 years. And was it the same thing for you there, kind of being just a shoot however you feel? If you're feeling comfortable, you got the hot hand, go for it?
Yes, sir.
So not too much of a transition or not too much of a shift for you in terms of mindset of the game?
No, not too much.
Is that kind of the mode of way you've always been playing? Out 6'5", you're probably a little taller than some of the guys you were growing up with playing. Has it always been more of the guard mentality, or did you have to kind of adapt to that as you grew up?
I actually had to change my position when I came to college. I was a big man at Meridian.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I played the 4.
Okay, so yeah, a bit of a shift. I know kind of when I called high school games around here, it's like, oh, hey, he's 6'4", he's playing the 5. And, you come up to college, like, oh, D1, 6'4" is probably a 1 or 2. So. Yeah. Has that been too difficult for you, kind of focusing less on playing the interior as often, or has it been kind of seamless?
Not too difficult. The change was kind of hard at first, but then I got used to it. So
there you go. So talking with Darius Brewer, freshman on the Southeast men's basketball programs. You talked about the leading three-point shooter on the team. I know we've got Carp over here, Justin Carpenter, kind of joking along. Is that any of the other guys on the team kind of give you some flack in practice for throwing up so many, or are they more than willing to feed you during the practice, anything going on?
They feed me most times because I'm a pretty good three-point shooter.
Yeah, they trust your hands. They want to just go ahead and say, you do this. I don't know if Carp's throwing up too many threes. I know I've seen him throw up some, but if he's got a chance to dish out, probably just leave it to Brewer, see if he can handle that. Yeah. So coming in the first year, as you said, doing well for yourself, getting some great looks at the three-point arc, but it's not always just about what's on the court. What are you guys normally up to when you're off the floor? If you're out of practice, what's going on? You guys huddling up in the dorm room playing some games? Are you kind of watching sports? What's the mentality for you guys when you're not playing?
Most of the time we're actually playing games. I actually just beat Carp before I came here on Mortal Kombat. So, yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, the bragging rights already being dropped down on the radio. I like that. Who's your character in Mortal Kombat?
Liu Kang.
Okay, that's mine as well. Now, mind you, I've been playing since the original games. I'm probably going to get beat around on the new games, but that's good for that. You guys playing any 2K or anything going on?
I don't really like sports games that much. I'm more into adventure games, action games like that.
All right. Now, let's see here. Uncharted, stuff like that?
Uncharted,
okay, that's good. I actually just bought the Uncharted series for my wife. She's kind of easing into video games, which is good for me as a husband because it gives me more time to play my sports games and stuff. It's like, hey, honey, here's your controller. I'm going to go to the other room and chill out. So a bit of a different mindset. That's good. So you don't get caught up in all the throwing down all the time. I know in my college dorm room, because I was the guy with the newest 2K every year, it was, oh, hey, everybody, the basketball team's flooding my room.
Yeah.
I think I bought NBA 2K11 new, and I think I played 6 hours total for me the entire time because everyone else formed in. So good to know that at least not the guys are getting it from you as often. So anything that you're doing outside of just like the team activities, any kind of hobby you pass on, it's like, okay, this is my way to wind down when I'm off the court, if it's not just video games.
That's pretty much it.
That's a good way. It's one-track mind. I'm all about it. So we've come through this first semester feeling good about things, talking to Darius Brewer, freshman on the Southeast men's basketball program. You've only had, I guess, at this point, 13, 14 games of that under your belt. Is there any of the early experiences you've had? I know for Cancun being a pretty big trip for you. Was that your first time out of the country?
Yes, sir.
How was that overall, kind of being able
to
fly?
I loved it.
From what most of the guys I've heard from the SEMO program the last few years, making the trip out of the country is always kind of like the highlight they circle as. Okay, was there anything unique to the experience? I know you guys are on the resort most of the time, but was there anything that stood out to you about that?
We got to swim with dolphins, so that's pretty cool. That's my first time ever doing that.
First time in the ocean in general, or I was about to say, if you're from Mississippi, you've had at least a little bit closer to the Gulf.
Yeah.
So that's I did not do that when I've gone down to other places. So that's kind of a rush, I'm sure. You got any pictures or things kind of show to everybody?
Yes, sir.
Very cool. Something to kind of hold on to and kind of enjoy about the trip. But outside of that, maybe on the court, has there been a specific game or specific thing so far in your early career that you're kind of holding on to and saying, hey, this is the thing I really enjoyed?
Just playing basketball in general. Every time I get on the court, I love it.
Okay.
I love the sport that much. So
hey, that's probably a good thing if you're playing college ball. You want to enjoy it. Otherwise, it's kind of a labor of working at it. So we're halfway through your season. You're looking to the OVC stretch right now. You go into the end of February and get into playoffs in March. What's the thing, other than kind of shooting, what's the thing you focus on as you get into the second half of the season? I know there's a lot of games Thursday and Saturday back-to-back. You hit that routine, and I know a lot of players end up liking that routine. Is there anything that you're wanting to focus on maybe outside of shooting as you get into the grind of that part of the year?
I'm just trying to stay healthy and turn the ball over.
All right. Kind of keeping it to yourself and seeing if you can put it up.
Yeah.
I know we'll talk about – can't do too much, but how was the meeting Coach Ray for the first time? I know we kind of look a little bit – we talked a little bit about with Carp with how it was Coach recruiting him and talking to him about coming to Southeast. How was it for you meeting Coach Ray for the first time?
Oh, it was great. He was a very nice guy, and I liked his personality, so I feel like I would be a great player here.
I feel pretty comfortable with it. Was he the first coach you met with Southeast, or was one of the assistants you met as well?
Coach Nick.
Okay.
Yeah, he was the first coach I met here.
So you kind of like Coach Nick, kind of one of the guys you're closer to with the program right now?
Yes, sir.
I know Coach Ray kind of smiling over there. It means he's getting some compliments on the air. Hopefully it stays the same way when it's off the air. But when you're traveling, I know there's a lot of stuff going on. You've got a lot of guys you're going with. Who's your running guy? Who's the guy you're running with most closely when you're on the road? Because I know you're on a bus, you're with the team as a whole, but is there a couple of the guys that you're kind of off to on the sides? Is it freshmen? Is it upperclassmen? Kind of.
I think it'll be upperclassmen. Jonathan.
Okay.
Yeah, Jonathan and Dunny Lewis.
All right, anything about those guys, kind of particular guys kind of share the same hobby, or is it just, hey, we work really well together, let's go with it?
Yeah, we just work really well together, and that just
there you go. Is there anything you've picked up from any of those guys? Obviously, you kind of want to pick up some tips from the guys who've been there before. Is there any sage advice that one of the upperclassmen has given you in your time so far?
Yeah, they told me don't turn the ball over.
Oh, wow. There you go. Focused on the game. I like this. You're very focused on the game. Don't have to worry about anything else. So is that kind of which one of the guys said that to you most often? Is there one?
Dunny.
Dunny. All right. I was going to say I didn't know which one of them was kind of in your ear most about that, but it's good to know. And I know Coach appreciates it. The guys are very honed in on the game. Don't lose sight of it. Don't do anything else. What's your goal for the rest of the season? I know it's obviously shooting and don't turn the ball over. What's your goal kind of as an athlete? What's the thing you're aspiring for this program for this coming second half of the season?
Win.
All
Win
right.
a lot of games. That's what I want to do.
I say getting some applause to see some fist bumps throughout the crowd. They're pretty excited about that here at Wings, etc. Cape kind of keeping the mindset on. I know you've faced most of the OVC in the first part of the season. I know Coach said it very much. He doesn't want players focusing on places you're playing or crowds you're playing in. But is there anything schedule-wise the rest of the way you're saying, okay, this is a game I have circled that I want to get back?
Murray State game.
Murray State?
Yeah.
Right there at the end of the year. Focused up, ready for it. There'll be Greek night there at Cape Girardeau Show Me Center on the 1st of February. So you've got about 3.5 more weeks to focus in on and get ready for it. Ladarius Brewer, freshman on the Southeast men's basketball program, joining us here on the SEMO Coaches Show live at Wings, etc. In Cape Girardeau, have a chance to come out and get one of those great lunch menu items. I know I'm partial to the boneless wings myself, so come out. And, of course, the TV's on for the national championship tonight. It's going to be on SEMO ESPN 92.9. I know they're going to have them on every single screen here at Wings, etc. in both Cape and Jackson. For you guys, is there anything you have special planned for the championship game tonight, or is it more just if it's on a TV, I'm going to do it?
Yeah, it's pretty much if it's on the TV, I'll watch it.
Is it not too partial of a college football fan, kind of focusing on basketball as well? All right. You have a guy you're trying to model your game after in college in the NBA?
Not really.
Not really? A team you follow specifically, or is it kind of players?
Warriors.
Okay, so you're following the Warriors. Kind of latch on after Steph and Clay and everybody went over?
Yeah.
So I say, for me growing up, the Warriors were kind of, there's a Donald Foyle and nobody else after Tim Hardaway left. So it's kind of a new change for the team to have this much respect. But you kind of just watching to see what Clay and Steph do, see if you can model up the three-point shooting after that.
For their camp. Yeah, which he left off his resume.
Right.
Yeah.
David Pollock.
Bama's good, and they're better. They're good up front, and they're good. They're not as.
It's easy for him to get along with the upperclassmen because we don't have a lot of them.
This is true. I wasn't going to drop that on him, but yeah, I was going to ask if he had the 3 or 4 that he was able to talk to.
Yeah, so it's not hard to figure out who to get along with. And then some of those upperclassmen, if you don't get along with Jonathan Dalton and Donnie Lewis and Milos Vranic and guys like that, then you're the problem, not them. So they make it really easy for that transition. And, for a lot of people, that's hard. Sometimes I really think what's happened in college basketball is AAU basketball is made the transition to college easier. Okay. Because a lot of times back in the day, this is the first time a young man had gotten on a plane or traveled or anything like that at all, or been away from home for an extensive amount of time. But now with the advent of AAU basketball, these guys are traveling, in April and in July. They're going to Vegas, they're going to Orlando, and they're taking these trips. They're staying in hotels, they're getting a chance to be around people. So now it's not that shock to their system the first time that they're spending time away from home.
Right. So for you now as a coach, it's more of, as he said, it was the big thing I love that he highlighted on that time management. Now it's balancing both those things at the same time. Like you said, AAU ball, a lot of it traveling, so you have that under control. But that's normally during summer months or during off time. So now it's kind of putting both of those worlds together and saying, okay, now here's where the balance comes in or how to do that. And it seems like with a number of level-headed young men, I know we talked to Carp earlier this season on the coach's show, doing well for himself as well as a freshman. I'm sure it puts a little bit of ease in your mind as a coach saying we've recruited the good players, we recruited these good, upstanding young men. They're doing well in the system. They're adjusting to college life, and it's a good way to move forward.
Yeah, we talked to our guys about that balance, the time management. I said, hey, I don't think there's any person that you'll talk to that won't say that college wasn't the best time of their life.
Agreed.
So they want to make sure that they enjoy themselves. It just meant, hey, you got to understand, you can't let these two things get you out of focus. It's always got to focus. It's got to be on academics and basketball. Anything that you're doing that gets in the way of those two things, then you need to curtail that. So we want our guys to go out on dates, have fun, do things like that, but it could never end up affecting what you do with those two things.
Right.
And the other part of it too for us is, like, I'm not one of these coaches that have curfews and bed checks and things like that. I just, hey, either we recruited the right guys or we didn't.
Yeah.
My job is to make sure that they're leaving here as responsible human beings and adults, and the only way you can do that is if you trust them. Mm-hmm. And so I put too much trust in my guys, but I just don't believe. I know some of my assistants sometimes, hey, we need to have a curfew, or we need to have practice on New Year's Day at 8 o'clock in the morning and make sure guys are out. I was like, hey, fellas, even if I was a good person, and did all this stuff, I wouldn't want to practice at 8 a.m. on New Year's Day.
You're thinking as a coach, I don't want to be up at 8 a.m.
Exactly. So I always ask myself, would I want to do that when I was in college, or would I want to do that now?
Yeah.
And if the answer is no, then why are we doing it? So, you just got to be smart about, the way you run your team.
I'm sure all the guys breathe a sigh of relief knowing they don't have to wake up at 8 o'clock New Year's Day. Heck, I was up till 2 in the morning with the riveting life of me playing board games with my sister and my wife. So obviously we were having a party all the time. But yeah, 8 o'clock, no, I'm okay. Thanks, though. So I'm glad the players seem relieved with that. We look forward here as we have about 9 minutes left on the coach's show here at Wings, etc. and Cape. We've got a double dip. We're in that routine, that Thursday, Saturday rotation for the rest of the regular season. As a coach, do you like that, having that schedule, knowing, okay, we have our Monday, Tuesday prep, get ready Wednesday for travel, or in this case you're at home, so you just get ready for Thursday and Saturday, or do you like kind of having the sprinkled across the week schedule you have in the first half?
Well, it's different because in college basketball, for all I know, it's always been different. So this is the first time being in the league, the OVC, where it's always Thursday, Saturday. I've always been in leagues where pretty much TV dictates, when you're playing. So you may play on a Sunday, you may play on a Monday, you may play on a Tuesday. It just doesn't matter because
the times change too.
The times change, so it's all about what that TV network wants, because the TV dictates when you play, when it's all said and done.
Yeah.
So this is the first time I've been in the league. Even when I was in the Missouri Valley Conference in the MAC, you still had TV contracts. So this is the first time we have not had that. I like the routine. The thing that I don't like is that really you don't have any sort of game prep on practice performance to get ready for that Saturday game. Okay. So that's what I don't like about it, but it's the same for everybody.
Exactly. You're not the only one battling.
Yeah, and so it's all about how you handle that Friday to me. To me, I'm more concerned about our guys being fresh physically and mentally for that game on Saturday to have a chance. And I know sometimes you play on a Thursday night and you're disappointed with the performance and you want to come in and like have a hard practice on that Friday to get ready for Saturday. Well, then you have that hard practice on Friday, and now you don't have a chance to be successful on Saturday. So what did you really accomplish?
Exactly.
So I'd much rather, tell our guys, show our guys on film how we feel, but not kill them, because we still got to make sure that we're doing the best thing in order to be prepared to win the game on Saturday.
Yeah, because that's the big thing. Is you can dog them in practice if you want, but if you're not getting the W that next day, then it's all for naught, as you said. And you come in a couple of games against solid opponents. You have Morehead State and you have Eastern Kentucky this weekend, both of them at home. So that's a nice change of pace, being able to settle in for this week at least before you head up to Illinois and into Eastern Illinois. Morehead State, 7:30 on Thursday, and then you have the afternoon game on Saturday. But we'll look at Morehead State first. I know program's kind of been up and down these last few years, but it's a program that always, it's one of those games you don't want to have it sneak up on you too much, or else it's going to bite you and then kind of set you down the path.
Yeah, they've got a lot of new personnel. They're similar to us in the regard that they got so many new players. Now, they've had a bigger turnover than we have. We obviously have some established players coming back like a Denzel Mahoney. But this is all new to them because they have so many newcomers. I know that getting a chance to watch them play on tape here thus far, they're really sound defensively. They're where they're supposed to be at. He's got them playing hard. They're flying around. And we've got to do a great job with their ball screen offense and making sure we don't have those breakdowns. But for us, the most important thing I always say is that we're right.
Yep.
So we've got to focus on the things that's gotten us beat these past two games, being able to guard the ball. You can't have a guy like Jonathan Stark go off for you for 36. You got to make sure you hold their best player down. And then we got to rebound the basketball. So that'll be our focus. And then we'll focus on Morehead State after we focus in on ourselves.
Right. I'm sure the same thing applies to Eastern Kentucky as well. They're both programs, I'll note this, looking for their first OVC win this season. They're both 0-4. They're both on 5-game losing streaks. So you well know as a coach, I know the players will know as well. Those are the games you kind of have to watch out for. I know focusing on yourselves, but those are always the ones the team comes out with a little bit extra edge. They know they've got themselves pinned against the ropes in the conference. They know that it's upon them to make a difference and get ready to pick up their first win. So maybe a little bit extra challenge on top of that. Is there anything unique to that as a coach when you see a team coming in maybe a little more ravenous, or do things stay the same?
Well, for us, the first thing we talk about is, hey, fellas, we just got one more win than they do. Okay. Let's not go crazy just because they're winless, that they're this morbid program and we're this top-notch Duke program at this point in time. We've only got one more win than they do at this point in time. The other part of it is just always, hey, when we go out there, we're worried about getting better. Regardless of what the opponent is and what have you, obviously we want to come away with wins, but we're focusing on our development. So the things that we've suffered, did we get better? Did we improve on those things? And so, to me, it's all about, if you don't have that intrinsic motivation, that self-motivation, the opponent you're playing really doesn't matter.
Right. It's one of those things, as we've said, with freshmen, you don't have to battle a little bit more, but it seems with guys like Ladarius, like Justin, that seems to be the mindset for them. As I am here, it's time for me to improve, and these are opportunities for me to improve. And like I said, even with what we asked Ladarius, he's already got that Murray State game circled. You have the guys focusing in on, okay, this is what did me wrong the last time. This is what got me caught the last time. Let's rectify that as we move forward.
Right. And that's interesting to hear him say that. But, for me, it's all about, hey, if we don't get better leading up to that game, it doesn't matter. And so for our guys, we always talk about, hey, what we give them every single game. I sit there and I chop up tape and I have individual tape, sessions with those guys and show them the mistakes that they made and some of the things that they did well. And hopefully they can focus in on those things and get better at them every single day.
That's a good thing. But it seems that, like I said, I was very impressed, if you can't tell, with Ladarius Brewer, that mindset of him coming in and saying, I'm here, I'm ready to play, playing is on my mind, let's go. And it's good to have a team of guys that are ready to do that as you get into the thick of the OVC season. As we said, Thursday, 7:30, it'll be on the air about 7:15. Eric Shawn on the call at the Show Me Center as Morehead State comes into town, and then Saturday at 4:15, an afternoon date with Eastern Kentucky. Both of those on SEMO ESPN 92.9 FM and on Real Rock 99.3. Winding things down here for the Coaches Show, and kind of softball you one as we wrap up. I know you've seen The Last Jedi already, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
Just once, or have you seen it multiple times?
Just once.
Just once, okay. And because I know we're a couple weeks out, it's been a few weeks, kind of like what we said with the Chiefs. You've had a little bit of time to mull over it. Are you one of the fans that are very much kind of torn with how this one went, or are you feeling good about how the series is going?
Well, the one thing is, I mean, you have the nostalgia factor, and I thought they overdid that in the first one.
Yes, my wife refused to see it again after the first.
I said, okay, I get it. You're making some reference back to the original storyline and things like that, and that was fun. It was nostalgic. Okay, let's move forward. Yeah. But this, man, they moved forward, but it seemed like they took like leap years forward. And, you know, I obviously don't want to give away any spoilers, but
we're still pretty fresh.
Yeah, to me, it's like I wanted a chance to like develop that person or that storyline a little bit more before we jumped to this next thing right here. So I'm a huge, Star Wars fan, and I'm gonna go see it regardless of what happens. I'll continue to watch it, but I just thought that they had a chance to give us some in-depth, things about some people and storylines that they didn't take advantage of.
Yeah, it felt like with a 2.5-hour movie, it's like there's probably 30 or 40 minutes you could have used a lot better in this to get us ready. So, but I know that the anticipation is here. We've got the Han Solo movie coming out in, about a year? We've got another year or so after that. We'll have Episode 9, so hopefully the answers come in the future, and hopefully we don't sit for about 4 hours in a film to get all the exposition out. So, I'm excited. I know. I saw it. It's a good time, so I'm very happy about that. Head coach Rick Ray of the Southeast Men's Basketball Program, thank you, sir, as always, for joining us on the Coaches Show. Glad you got to see The Last Jedi. Glad you had a good new year, and we'll catch up with you next week.
Thank you very much.
That's head coach Rick Ray. Appreciate his time here on the SEMO Coaches Show. Thank you to Wings Etc. hosting us for another great Monday. Remember, you can come on out in the national championship game tonight. Catch it on any of these television screens in Cape or Jackson. I know the Wings will be going, and a couple of beverages as well, depending on how you're feeling about that. So come on out for that. We'll be right back here in Cape next Monday at noon for another edition of the Southeast Missouri State Men's Basketball Coaches Show on SEMO ESPN 92.9 FM, SEMO ESPN 1220 and 1470 AM, and on SEMOESPN.com. We'll send our well wishes to Eric Shawn. Hope he gets feeling better, sir. One more time, Morehead State, Thursday at 7:30, Eastern Kentucky, Saturday at 4:15. Check those out on SEMO ESPN 92.9 and on Real Rock 99.3. But until next we speak next Monday, I'm Cody Sandusky saying stay safe, stay dry, and so long from Wings Etc. in Cape Girardeau.